Welcome to Parenting on Empty. You can find us on parentingonempty.com. This is podcast number 13. And this podcast, we're talking about building character. To start off with, we should define what we mean when we talk about character.
To a certain degree, I think your personality is somewhat something you're born with. From the moment a child begins to express themselves, even just through crying, the way they express themselves, how assertive they are, seems to be fairly instinctive and kind of just comes with the package. Now, there are things I think you can do to influence personality, but I think it's something that is kind of just there, and you have to mold it a little bit and influence it, but you're never going to drastically change it. Values, I think, are completely different. I think values are things that are learned, things that are acquired, things that you choose. And when I talk about developing character, it's something that you are trying to instill in your child, and you're hoping that they will adopt the values that you cherish. They don't always, but they always adopt some sort of values, some sort of standard, and it does define who they become. It doesn't define their personality, it defines their character, how they act out all their decisions, how they make their decisions, what they base their decisions upon.
Right, what they want to be known for. And so in some senses, it might even be like peer pressure. Like, this is what my friends are doing. This is what's accepted amongst my friends. And so this is what I want to do. I want to act this way. I want to say these kind of things. And I want to talk about these certain things, because that's what the people that I care about, the people that I admire, that's what they're doing. Is it possible for you to develop within your child a desire to have really good, wholesome, positive values that they want to care about? That's what I want to be like. That's the kind of person I want to be like.
Well, and I think you've mentioned the key to the whole thing, and that was, you said, helping your child figure out that's what I want to be like. And unfortunately, most children are not very intentional about who they want to be, because they're just trying to figure out, who am I? Mm-hmm. They're pretty sure that other people define them, because as a child, that's pretty true. Your parents and the people who take care of you are defining who you are, what you can do, where you can go, and when it can happen. So I don't think very many children instinctively make conscious choices. They tend to just unconsciously be influenced by the people that are around them. And you mentioned peer influences. And I think one of the jobs of parents is we have to decide, are the peers with whom my child is associating, are they influencing my child in a way that will lead them to make good character choices, or are they not?
Right. I think that's why we have military school. It would be a lot simpler if we just ship everybody off to military school, and then they come back and they've got all the right decisions made for them.
The right decisions.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm not going to comment on that one. Other than military school.
Okay, if you're not going to go,
there might be some other options.
If you're not going to go the military school or the mind police route, then what do we have as an option before us?
And one obvious one is monitor the friends. Figure out who the friends are. Get to know the friends. What do the friends value? What do the friends think is okay and is not okay? What are the things that they are influencing your child to believe is cool and uncool? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can, through the influencing of your own child, you can influence his or her peer group and help to become a voice into that peer group. I think a lot of times we're really frightened by particularly teenage peer groups, because they can be so fierce and so right. They know they're right. Mm-hmm. And they can be scornful of any kind of adult input. But I mean, our job is to be emotionally stable enough to say it doesn't matter what those kids think about me. What does matter is that they hear what I'm trying to communicate. to them, even if they don't like it initially.
You know, at the risk of sounding oversimplistic, I think that every person, let alone children, but every person wants to be loved and wants to be accepted. And when that love is shown towards them, I think it's a very powerful force that I believe it can literally affect the way people feel and even the way they think. And I think that when we truly display love towards our children, that we truly care about them, that can impact how they feel about themselves and maybe some of their values. Now, that's not a blanket statement. It's not just love your child and they will never stray and they will never do no wrong. But I think it does have a lot of power. And I think that same kind of philosophy can be applied to their peers. If you spend time displaying your love and care and acceptance of their friends, that can, I believe, have a lot of power and impact on those friends. To say, wow, Mariah's friends or Michaela's friends, they really seem to be interested in me too, they care about me. And I think that can really have some impact on what they think and their values. And
part of the way one of the ways that you can communicate that is planning activities where, where you invite the other friends to participate with you and your child. Mm-hmm. You have done an amazing job at creating activities that you know Mariah is going to like, and then trying to incorporate some of her friends into that activity. The one thing that's on my mind right now is you wrote a script for her to invite her friends to come and act out with her, and you're videotaping it, and then you'll edit it down, and then you'll have a showing and invite the friends and their parents to come and watch this. That's a significant project. And it's something where you're speaking into their life in a variety of different ways. One, because you're spending time with them. Mm-hmm. Two, because you have a message in this script that you wrote that every single one of them is at least going to hear. Whether they accept it or not, they at least hear the message and the values that are embedded in it. Their parents are going to hear it and respond to it in some way or another. You can be opening up all kinds of opportunities for the parents to interact with their kids about the content in that particular script.
Exactly. And that is by design to spend time with Mariah and to spend time with her friends. And I haven't really necessarily talked to you specifically about how that will unfold, but the script, by saying that I wrote a script, that's in a real loose term too, because it's a very organic thing. And one of the conversations I plan to have with her friends is even with the dialogue, to say, well, what do you think about what this person said? Is that the way you would say it? In fact, I don't know if I told you, but Mariah, she gave the script to one of her friends and said, would you be interested in playing this part? And her friend read it and said, well, could I change some of the lines so it sounds more like me? Well, sure. Mm-hmm. Like I said, so it's not
giving them some ownership.
Exactly. So it's not, hey, you have to do it just this way, just fall into line, because it's really just a tool to begin conversations and to get to know her friends and to have them dialogue, to say, well, I wouldn't say it this way. Here's how I would say it. Well, that's great. That's a great way to say that.
And it's such a positive thing for these kids to bond over. Mm-hmm. Rather than gossiping, rather than doing activities that we're not terribly thrilled about, rather than just sitting around being unproductive and saying, I'm bored, what should we do?
Exactly.
Let's play video games. And there's nothing wrong with video games, but I would like to give them some opportunities to actually interact with one another and get to know each other as people, not as just someone who's a warm body sitting there next to you.
Right. And so, obviously not everybody's going to write a script and shoot a little movie. But I think if you really start thinking outside of the box and thinking, well, what are ways that I can involve my children and involve her friends, you can begin to think, well, okay, this might work.
What's great about what you just did is you took something you're good at an area of your expertise and basically said, how can I use that to influence my daughter and her friends?
Right.
And spend time with them. And I think if all of us did that, I mean, if you're a cook, well, invite the friends over and plan a menu together, cook an entire menu together, and then serve it and have this little mini banquet time together.
Right.
If you are a carpenter,
the same kind of philosophy. And I remember hearing Rachel Ray, who's a very famous cook, and how she got that love for cooking. And part of it was she was given freedom to express herself. And that might be very painful for some people if they invite their, hey, come on, bring your friends and we're going to cook something. And the friends don't adhere exactly to the recipe. To be able to give them freedom to say, what do you think? Does it need more salt or does it need more sugar? Maybe the end product won't be edible, but I think you'll be giving them a real ownership.
Yeah, and that is a really good caveat because I immediately think about if they don't do it right, because I care about doing it right, and they're going to make a mess. If you have more than 2 young people in the kitchen, they're going to make a mess. They don't really care about messes because they don't feel like they have to clean it up. Somebody else comes along behind them and does that. So you have to be willing. You have to remind yourself, what is it that I'm going for? I'm not going for a great finished product. Right. This film, we're never going to enter it into any contests that you're making.
Correct.
It's not going to be stellar, but it's a tool. It's an end product that the kids will feel good about. We may cringe when we watch it, but that's not the point. The point is that you've given them something productive to do, something to make them feel good about themselves, something that facilitates communication. They will forever feel like they have a connection with you and me because I'm helping with the project as well.
Correct.
Based on what we've done with them.
Right.
And we have to be willing to give up not just whether the line is changed or not, but quality.
Correct.
And the quality of the cooking may really be bad. And if you're cheap like me, it bothers you that ingredients are wasted because they may decide, we have got to put this particular ingredient in this recipe. And it turns out inedible. And you think, I spent how much money on those ingredients, and it's totally wasted.
Right. You do have to train yourself to say, what's my end goal?
Well, and what do I value? Exactly.
Because I was going to say that can be the same kind of philosophy when you're just sitting down, spending time with kids and their friends. You're thinking, well, why do I want to spend time getting to know their friends? That seems like a waste of my time. Mm-hmm. And when you think, well, okay, the end goal is that I am, hopefully I'm in the process of expressing love and perhaps building some character into her friends along with my own children.
And if you know the friends and then you have a concern and you speak to your child about that, you're speaking from knowledge and your kid knows it.
Right.
Instead of just, you're just uptight and you don't even know them and you don't understand them.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Getting back to the quality.
Well, before we get back to that, I just wanted to say too that it doesn't this idea of spending time with your children and with their friends. It doesn't have to be always project oriented. It can be activity. And one thing that springs to mind is going camping, and bring some of their friends along camping, and you're sitting around the fireplace and telling stories or just talking about life. And that's a great place where that can take place too, where you just are asking questions. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You're not doing anything else. You're just sitting around in camp chair staring at the fire. And I think that's a great setting for getting to know kids. And again, you're displaying I'm willing to invest this time and to truly show that I'm interested. I want to know what you think about this, or and you throw out different topics. What do you think about this? And let's just go around and talk about that. So it can be activity oriented, whether you're going hiking or camping or fishing or whatever.
We frequently don't think very clearly about investment, whether it's monetary or time or energy or emotions. And we kind of have little boxes and we say, okay, this is worth the time, the energy, whatever, but this other activity is not. For example, we would probably think taking our child and maybe a friend or two to a movie. We would think, well, yeah, when you go to movies, you have to pay $8 to $14 to go to the movie because that's what it costs. And you don't necessarily consider that a waste of time because it's part of our culture. Everybody knows that's what you have to do if you're going to go to a movie. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing a project, like let's say you're a carpenter and you decide, I'm going to use what I'm good at to get my daughter or son involved with his or her friends, and we're going to do a project together. And so you buy the materials and you provide them with nails and hammers and saws and whatever. And you have a plan for how that is supposed to be accomplished, and they end up not paying attention to you and putting things together all wrong. And when it's all done, first of all, they didn't get done anything to be proud of, and they don't care about it. And they actually throw it away, or they just leave it for you to clean up because they don't want to take it home. And it's really easy for us to get kind of bitter about that and think, I spent all this money, I invested all this time, and they just don't care about it. And when you think about, we have things that we think, this is worthwhile, I'll pay for it. Mm-hmm. So why did you do the project? Was it to accomplish the project? Was it so that they would like it and say, oh, thank you so much? Or was it simply a venue for you to spend time with them and get to know them? And if you can keep in your mind, and see, this is really hard for me, and that's why I think it's so important, because I struggle with it. If you can keep in mind, the investment is in the child.
Right.
Then the $50 that you maybe spent on supplies, or the $20 you spent on supplies, is infinitesimal. You don't mind. It isn't throwing money down the drain any more than it's throwing money down the drain to go to a movie or to pay to go into a roller rink. I mean, what is accomplished there?
Right.
They watch it, they leave. They roll around in a circle 100 times and then they leave. Nothing significant has been accomplished. There's no great product at the end of that. But for some reason, we see those things as valuable. We don't question and say, well, is it worth it?
Right.
But with these other things, I think we have personal investments that we don't have when we take our kids elsewhere.
Right.
And so it's easy for us to begin to judge and say, well, that was a failure and that wasn't worth it. And that was a waste of money and time and energy.
Exactly.
Because we completely forget what the whole point was.
Right.
The whole point is spending time. It's not them being grateful. It's not them even having a good time. They may complain because that's their job.
Yes, right. You really do have to rearrange your thinking. As we were discussing this before we recorded the podcast, as far as building character, one of the things we talked about was that it's a conversation that you involve your children with, and depending on how old they are and what they're able to comprehend, you discuss with them about the issue of character and talk to them about what kind of person do you want to be? What do you want to be known for? And what type of things are important to you when people look at you and they say, you know, you are a caring person or a hardworking person or, whatever that might be. So we talked about different ways you can have that conversation with your children.
Yeah, and before we get into the different ways, I would say this is one, again, that you have to change your thinking about, because when your child is young, you're the one who's basically deciding their destiny. Mm-hmm. They don't really have any power. A baby can't even get from point A to point B without you helping them. But as they grow older, we're trying to teach them independence and responsibility and how to make choices in a way that's wise. And I think one of the most difficult things to give up is your dream or your vision of the kind of person that you want your child to be.
Mm-hmm.
We can train them. We can try to inculcate our value system in them. We can explain why we think these things are important. But the bottom line is, in the end, they're the ones who choose one way or the other.
Right.
I accept those values. I think those are important too. That's what I want to be like. Or no, there's something else that I value even more.
Right.
And it may be something that I don't think is very important. In our family right now, and really for about the last 5 years, something that our daughter is really interested in, the older one, Mariah, is fashion, style, clothing,
right,
appearance. And I don't value that at all. I think it's shallow. And that's a judgmental statement, because there are a lot of really good people who value fashion. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with fashion. It's a kind of beauty. It's wrong of me to be judgmental of that, just as much as it would be wrong of me to be judgmental of someone who said, I'm going to be an artist.
Right.
But I value art.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a kind of beauty that I can relate to and understand. I don't relate to and understand fashion.
Okay.
So
very good point.
I have to, as I am looking at Mariah and beginning to have these conversations of releasing my vision and dream for her and saying, so what do you want? What are you interested in?
Right.
Not getting upset, not saying things like, that's kind of stupid. Why would you go there?
Right. And that's where the mindset, where you have to really change your mindset before you go into a conversation like this, because it's not meant to be manipulative where you ask them the questions, but you're really trying to get them to say what you want them to say. You want them to be the person that you've got in mind. And so you start couching the statements and the questions in a way that works to your advantage. And so, yeah, I think that's real important that you have that mindset of, I'm really honestly, sincerely trying to determine what this child values and what their personal goals are.
And being willing to help them figure out, okay, if this is something you're really interested in, how could we nurture this? How can we feed it to help you accomplish whatever it is you're trying to become? Mm-hmm. And sometimes in doing that, you clarify for your kid in a way that they may never have reached clarity on, that, oh, that's not really a very worthwhile goal. Because the closer they come to achieving it, they come to an understanding of, yes, this is fulfilling. Yes, this is getting me what I really wanted. They're still not very wise. And they don't know if what they think they value is really what they value.
Right.
And I think we're so afraid sometimes that we want to just tell them, just trust me. You won't like the way that turns out. Mm-hmm. Because we want to spare them heartbreak, because we want to spare them failure, because we want to spare them disappointment, because we want to spare ourselves of the public humiliation sometimes, because we don't want our child known as those things. We don't want other people judging our kid the way we judge them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think that if we are willing to ask the right questions and then come alongside and say, okay, if that's what you're really valuing, then what is the next step? What do we need to do in your life? What kind of education do you need to pursue? What kinds of activities should you get involved in to continue to nurture this value system so that it becomes really significant and solidified in your life?
Exactly.
And it can be something, I mean, fashion is not really a value, but the value embedded in fashion is how a person looks.
Right.
And because I think that that's fairly shallow, I have to work really hard and say, okay, my value system is who we are is the most important thing. But the bottom line is we express who we are by the way we dress.
Right.
by how we care for ourselves. And so my challenge is to say, okay, I can look at this fashion thing and say, what value system can I help her in developing about fashion that I can also feel good about?
Exactly right. I just watched a video, and I think I shared it with you about a gal who had an MBA and turned that degree into a business, using those skills into a business of creating fashion, of design. But it was to accomplish her goal, which was to really encourage women, young women, I think more specifically, but women in general, about how they feel about themselves and what they want to say with what kind of statement they want to make with the fashion that they wear. So she had some very positive goals, and used
she was
it
concerned about modesty.
Exactly,
because she was saying a lot of the styles that are existing emphasize a certain kind of lifestyle, and if we want to encourage modesty and integrity, then we need to create fashions that encourage that. And it doesn't have to be dowdy. You can be modest and still be really cool.
Right.
As far as fashion goes.
That just reinforces in my mind that you really have to be open and accept what comes from your child and not have this preconceived idea of this is what I want for you. Because you don't know. The child could come up with the next big idea. It's just being willing to explore that and let them communicate.
And the bottom line is that kid is going to pursue their own value system no matter what you do.
I was going to say
in the end.
It's going to happen anyway.
So why not do an end run around a lot of conflict that is going to be non-productive conflict? Because I can fight Mariah all I want on this, but it's what she values. So in the end, it's what she's going to pursue one way or the other. So if I want to have a voice in her life, then I need to figure out what is it exactly that she wants to be known as, and how can I continue to influence that so it's something that I can say, yes, while it's not what I would have chosen for you, it's still something that I think is really valuable and significant. And if she can pursue fashion, but if she pursues it, she has a heart for people. She loves people. Mm-hmm. She cares about them. She wants them to succeed. So if she were to take fashion and use it in that way to impact people, any group of people, that'd be great. Right. It would be consistent with my value system. It would be something that I think is a productive use of her life. She would be happy. She would be fulfilled. Other people would really benefit. It's a win-win situation there. If you start this conversation with your kid, and it's an ongoing conversation.
Yes.
But if you start it and your kid really becomes convinced that you are behind what they want for themselves and that you are trying to help them achieve that person, I think they will think it's much more serious than what it did when they were fighting you. Mm-hmm. And secondly, it gives you, it's kind of a conversation opener. It gives you this ongoing conversation that when they do something and it's completely inconsistent with what they said they wanted to be, this is the kind of person I want to be, then it gives you an opportunity to just say, I'd like to chat with you a little bit about this whole situation, because as I look at you doing this or saying this or behaving in this way or this attitude, and I think about the conversation we had about what you want to be known as, are those consistent?
Right.
Do you really want to continue in this activity or this attitude? Because it isn't going to get you where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And the difference there is you're not the authority saying, don't do this, it's bad. You're just saying, okay, you told me this is what you want.
Right.
And I'm wondering, do you think that what is happening now is going to get you what you want?
Exactly.
And just let them think about it.
Right.
And if they end up saying, yes, I think it will, then I think the hard part is you just have to shut up for a while and let them figure out it's not going to.
Right.
Or wait until they ask you, what do you think?
And remember, it's a continuing conversation, and it's a continuing relationship, and we'll see what happens down the road.